Hi, everybody. Well, what a few days it's been. Uh, this is Erica from In the Company of Cards, here with you again, this time on a Sunday. This will be quick. I have a guest coming on Tuesday who will help us look at the astrology of what's going on. But I thought today I would just come on here and you and I in the cards could take a little bit of a look at that. I know that um, the Musk Trump uh, breakup has been the source of a lot of conversation. As a lot of pundits have also said, it's a distraction. It's you know funny, I guess, sort of, if you want to think of it that way. I did a video months ago about the black hat MAGAs versus the red hat MAGAs. Of course, Musk would be a member of the Black Hat Brigade, and you know, then there's the originals. And I saw that when push came to shove, the originals would win. Um, but each man has a lot of leverage over the other, and so it'll turn out the way it turns out. I don't really want to spend time on that. Um, Meanwhile, we have the National Guard being federalized and sent to uh, LA uh, under the guise of quelling violent mobs who are stopping ICE from doing its job. Now, of course, that is not what those people were. There were no violent mobs. Um, we saw 47 congratulate the National Guard for their fine job before they even had been deployed. But anyway, I want to look at that issue. So I think that the card I'm going to use for a central card is the whip, right? Because a whip is meant to keep people in line. So you've got 47 saying things like masks will not be allowed at protests. What are you talking about? So ICE can be masked, and whatever these other, deputized uh, toy cops are, they can be masked, but protesters can't be masked. Pretty sure that wouldn't stand up in a court of law. But anyway, if you are going to be out protesting, wear a mask, wear a hat with a bill. If you have tattoos, cover them up. If you're black, stay home and drink your water, because if you think he's going to be harsh with whoever's out there, imagine what he'll do to you if you're black. Stay home. There are other ways you can help. For example, I gave to a porta potty fund for the protesters. People do have to relieve themselves, right? I thought that was a good cause. There are lots of ways you can help. If you're black, make it be a strategic decision to stay home on your part. It's not about being a coward. It's not about being down for the movement or not down for the movement. It is uh, a strategic act of both self-preservation and technique, for you to stay home and let the choir take over and see how far he's willing to go when it's not black bodies that he can be attacking. But anyway, I'm going to use the whip, and I'd like to know how things will go here in LA. I'm not in LA, but I'm in California. But here in California, here in LA, how will things go now that 47 has declared war on the state? Remember, we're looking for the whip, and that stands for his attempt to thwart First Amendment expression. Okay. Thank you for all your likes, shares, subscribes, hitting the notification bell so that you're notified when I put up a video. Appreciate all of it. All of that helps the channel to grow. Hmm. Okay. So the cards are the woman, clover. Here's our whip in the center, the coffin, and the birds. Now, this I just feels like yin energy, him expecting people to sort of accept what he does, not come out and not protest, just accept the fact that he's the king and he's the state. He did this prematurely, not that it ever would have been a good time, but he was hasty and reactive in his decision. He's coming off the heels of this fight with uh, the muskrat. And so he wants to swing his mushroom around. And so this is just like a knee-jerk action to call out the National Guard. Here's the National Guard being called out. And I will say that I think in the end, this is going to be one of the things that seals his fate with people. These are people who, this is buzz, talk, gossip, conversation, meetings, etc. And I think that this will be part of the bridge too far that he will have walked. This will mean no good thing for him. Anytime you've got to wield that kind of power, you know you're losing. And there will be conversation about that. Okay, so we go back again to this woman, and the clarifiers are the young man, the fish, and the star. What this will do, he wants us to all step back and accept him. However, this will make people more militant, more emotionally charged as we move forward into the summer. The star is the card for the future. So as we move farther into the summer, people will think back on what's been done in California, and it will not bode well for him. Clover, when I was going horizontally, this card indicated that his action was impetuous, knee-jerk. Clarifiers are woman, scales, and book. I think this knee-jerk reaction that he had, this sort of misuse of power, will harm him in the legal sense in ways that have yet to be determined. It's constitutionally, well, unconstitutional what he's doing. Okay, the whip. So this is the bringing out the National Guard, being really aggressive. Clarifiers are a child, ship, and clouds. This causes people to think about him in new ways. To think of him as being impetuous, immature, um, just not knowing what he's doing, child card. And moving forward, this is going to create confusion among the population. Like, wait, what? You're doing what and why? And is this what I signed up for? Is this what I voted for? That's what this is, these clouds. We have this coffin clarified by the ring, the bear, and the rider. Again, he is digging his own grave with this action. He will do that again and again and again and again because he's committed to being aggressive and narcissistic. And the message that will come away, that people will take away from that is, okay, he needs to not be um, in that office anymore, we'll just say. And then we have birds clarified by mountain, bouquet, and house. Now, this is interesting because we've got the birds, but between the birds and then the bouquet and the house is a mountain. So he will be able to wield his power for a while yet. People will talk, nothing will happen until it eventually does. And what will happen eventually? He won't be in the presidency too much longer. That's what I think. Now, I think that it's worth looking at uh, let me say a word too about this coffin. I mentioned to you before, I think I gave you homework and I said, look up Kent State. A lot of you know what Kent State is. If you don't know, KENTSTATE, Kent State University. Look up Kent State. Because, accidents happen and guns get fired, um, and lives are lost. And I do think that there is a great likelihood of people being injured and killed in these situations by government or extra government um, entities. Um, I want to look at 47 again. I looked at him, I think, last week, at the beginning of last week, and I did a sort of a 3 month thing. And that third month which was August, things looked very bad for him. So I think I want to do a deeper dive. We're looking at August for 47. What will that month look like for him? August. And then I'll circle back and I'll look at how Saturday will go. Saturday is all those no king to stay protests, as well as the parade for the birthday boy. But we'll look at that in a second. I just want to look at his August. And I think I'll let the spirit pick all the cards for August. This is 47's August. Okay, I'll pull a couple of clarifiers, but not quite yet. So here he is, pops up. He knew to show up. This reading's about him, and you know, narcissists know when to appear. So here he is, and the other cards are the ship, the dog, the crossroads, and the sun. So I'm just going to say that by August for him, moving forward into the rest of the summer and the fall, his friends will start to peel off because this is the card for choices, and you see how these different roads are different. There are different options that people can take. For me, it feels like his friends will peel away from him. But let's clarify that and make sure that that's what we're seeing here. I'll pull a couple of clarifiers for all the cards, for each of the cards. So for him, then for the ship, dog, Crossroads and the sun. Okay. So for him, I pulled the clover and the scythe. I think as the summer goes on, he will become more and more impetuous. You know, he will become more and more the guy that threw the ketchup at the wall in the White House. But it won't be ketchup at the wall. It'll be um, wielding, uh, instruments of power to harm people. This is a card of harm. So I think he will be willy-nilly swinging that scythe, using Hegseth and Patel and whoever he can use, Bondi, to hurt people. The ship is the second card. Clarifiers are the key and the star. People are going to have to start thinking, wait, where is this ship going? And is this where we want it to go as we move into the future? I think this is a question that people will ask. We have the dog here. Clarifiers are the ring and the bouquet. There are still people in government loyal to him, committed to him, because they think that that it will pay off for them, that they will be rewarded if they show him loyalty. Because he's already shown if you're not loyal, he'll punish you. So people are still going to be, his friend, um, committed to and loyal to him. But for really personally enriching benefits, right? Not because they like him, but because there are things that he can do for them, they think. But what will happen during the course of the month is that changes. People make a different decision because they start to worry about the midterms and what their blind allegiance to him will mean for them in their home districts when it comes to midterm elections. So people will start to peel off from him. They will be aware of who he is and what he's trying to do. And again, a lot of them are afraid of him. But I think that this worry and this anxiety that they feel will cause them to start being, um, I think they'll start smiling in his face and stabbing him in the back, like a fox would do. And I say that because the card that I can mirror this with is him. I think he will be surrounded by fake friends, false friends, because they're seeing that it actually will not serve their best interests to align with him. So that's what I see for him in August. I think again, and I think nail after nail after nail will be put in his coffin by him. Uh, you know, it's like, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this analogy, but if you've ever taken a child to the beach and then they decide at the end that they want to take sand home, you're certainly not going to suggest that they put some sand in their bucket and then carry that into the car because you don't want sand in your car. They'll try to take it in their hands. They'll scoop it in their hands, and they, they'll want to carry it to the car. But here's what you know that they're going to be so careful to just keep that sand in their hands and squeeze it so tight. By the time they get to the car, there will be no sand to take home. You're not going to give them the advice to carry it gently. You're going to say to yourself, yeah, squeeze that sand, because by the time we get to the car, there won't be anything there. This is 47. He is going to be so aggressive in his attempt to hold on to power that in the end, he won't have any. That's what I think. But I also think that we've got a long way to go between now and then. Um, let's look at this, how Saturday will go. I think that the week will be incredibly tense overall. I think the tension will grow each day. But I just think let's look at Saturday. Saturday is the day of his parade. Um, More importantly, it's the day of the No Kings protests that are around the country. He's already um, federalized the National Guard in terms of California, but it wasn't specific to California. In other words, the order that he put out, technically he could say, okay, yeah, that's for the whole country. Um, is it legal? I don't think so. But what will happen on Saturday? Let's let the cards, spirit pick all the cards. How will Saturday go? Again, if you are going out there protesting, even though he says you can't wear a mask, yes, you can. Wear a mask, wear a hat with a bill on it, have the numbers memorized of your lawyer or your next of kin. Uh, don't, don't, don't be violent. That's not good. Um, if you're black, stay home and drink water and send well wishes to the protesters because we are the first ones that they will go for. Stay home. There will be millions of people in the streets. You don't need to be among them. All right, how will Saturday go? And again, we're going to let Spirit pick all the cards. How will Saturday go? Sorry. Okay, and I am going to pull clarifiers. We have the whip, we have the child, we have the birds, the tree, and the letter. I think that there will be violence. I do think so. I think that he will act not his age. He turns 79 and he'll act more like 7 or 9 in the wielding of his power that day. What with tanks and National Guards people and um, you know, but the people will be out in force. This is birds, this is people gathering. Um, People will be out in force, listening to speeches, um, you know, shouting slogans, marching, having their, you know, placards. There will be a lot of people out. Now, the tree and the letter, I'm going to pull clarifiers on because I can mirror this letter with this whip. So I think there will be more decrees on his part, calling more military people out. Maybe not the military, although Hegseth did say the Marines were ready and willing to wade into the fray. So I think he will try to do more with the National Guard thing at least. Posse Comitatus says that you cannot enlist the military to to do damage to American people. That's not legal. But when has that ever stopped him? Um, let's pull some clarifiers. So, the whip is things like the National Guard being called in, people being arrested for expressing their First Amendment rights. And why would he do that? To create a climate of fear and pain, because he likes that. He likes that. So does Miller like that. So does Hegseth. This is fun for them. They enjoy this, creating pain and fear. So be prepared for that. Um, that exercise of power for the sake of pleasure. Twisted, right? The child is clarified by Clover, book, and ship. These are impetuous, childish, immature uses of naked brute power. Um, Again, whoops, there's a sloppiness to this, an unthinking piece to this, where it's just very knee-jerk, sudden, quick reactions on his part. Um, Moving forward, though, who knows what the consequence will be? I don't think it will. I think that what he wants to have happen as a result of these crackdowns is not what will happen. Now, the thing is, what he wants, in his birthday parade, what he wants from the crowd is for people to love him and to honor him and to venerate him. That is what he wants. He wants to show off his military, because that's what he thinks of it as. His soldiers, his tanks. So that's what this is all about. We have the tree, and the clarifiers for that are the fish, the coffin, and the scythe. I'll tell you what, I do think that this time this card is the health card for him. And uh, because it's not going to be one of those fun birthday parties where people play pin the tail on the donkey and drink punch and eat cake and open presents and go home. Uh, I think he's going to have some feelings about this, about the fact that he's not being responded to the way that he would like. The response that he gets from people will not be this. And I think he will feel wounded and unwell on that day, on that Saturday. I think he will feel wounded and unwell. Um, Finally, we have the letter clarified by the sun, the stars, and this woman. Now, because he's not getting the reaction that he wants, then he's going to put more ugly stuff in place. And I think this is Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. I think that he'll want more draconian measures put in place, moving forward. Um, I can mirror this Pam Bondi card with the very first card, which is the card of punishment. So, people will be arrested, charged with things that they shouldn't be charged with, and Pam Bondi will be charged with making those charges stick, and people will be made an example of. And again, this is what authoritarian regimes do. So, none of that should be unexpected. Uh, he will not feel good. It will not be a fun, good birthday for him. That's some consolation, right? Uh, I do expect there to be violence this week, a whole week. And when I say violence, I'm not talking about on the part of the demonstrators. So it'll be a show of force on the part of 47 and his minions, Stephen Miller, Pete Hegseth, etc. So just be aware of that, be prepared for that. Um, I don't really want to look at the War of the Roses, the battle between you know who and the muskrat, except to say that I did do a video months ago about the red hats versus the black hats, meaning that there were two or three really wings of MAGA. And I looked to see, well, these are competing, opposing forces. And I looked at who would win. Um, I think despite the money on the Black Hat side, I think that I thought I saw the red side as winning. I will say that both the Muskrat and you know who have leverage uh, against each other. So, on the one hand, it's money, on the other hand, it's power. So, for example, if 47 takes away Musk's contracts, well, what happens to Starlink, first of all? And beyond that, um, the muskrat can sue. He has unlimited resources with which to sue. So, uh, it's not, people are saying, oh, it's really fun and it's amusing to watch. It's like Housewives, a cat fight on the Real Housewives of wherever. I don't, I don't share that opinion because we are the ones who are the pawns in all of this. I don't know if you heard, but there was some system that the Muskrat put into operation in the White House, which essentially allows Starlink or whoever to intercept and listen in on and record and whatever they want to do, anything that's said in the White House. Do you think that he dismantled that system on the way out? Because I don't. So 47 gave the muskrat the keys to the kingdom. So he has the keys. He hasn't turned the keys back in. And you know what? I would like to know one last thing, and then I'll let you go because, it's Sunday. You all deserve a break. Why did really, the real reason, what is the real reason why the Supreme Court said the Doge could keep all of our private information? What was the real reason? Now, the reason that was given is that, well, it's not an emergency. Let things play out. Let's see how it goes. What are you talking about? So, really, what is the reason? We know that the liberals on the court were horrified by this, but why did the majority on the court allow Doge, so Big Balls and whoever his playmates are, continued access to our private information? Why? Why did the Supreme Court allow that? Because sometimes the court will say, okay, hold up, stop doing whatever you're doing until we work out whether you can do it or not. But that's not what they did here. They were like, yeah, keep doing what you're doing while we figure out what it is that we're going to tell you you can do and not do. By then, the damage is done. We have the child, the lily, the mountain, the rider, and the clouds. I just think that there are wheels within wheels, and that's the reason. I think that the court is compromised. That's what I think. And so that's why they put up this barrier, um, and said to Doge, they didn't put up the barrier for Doge. Doge, do your dirt, Doge. That's fine. I think I think that there are things that we don't know that are being kept from us. And I think that those people on the Supreme Court who voted for this, to let them continue to have, I think that it's part of the Project 2025 thing to gain access to our information. So it promises to be quite the wild week. Stay hydrated. If you're Black, stay home and stay hydrated. I think that 47 will get more and more frantic and more frenetic and more sloppy and indiscriminate about the way he wields power this week. So keep your head about you when all others are losing theirs. Uh, to paraphrase Rudyard Kipling, keep your heads. Again, if you're going to be out there, be safe. I will be on during the week. Um, but for now, it's Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll see everybody in a couple of days. Take care.